So, I watched a video that is kind of trending right now about the 10 hobbies that will change your life and you can become the part of the 1%. And I did look at the list, and to be honest, it wasn't nonsense. It was some solid stuff. They talked about going to the gym, they talked about playing chess, about communication, calisthenics, they talked about reading. But I want you to pause for a second and really think about it. Just really think about who made that video. Um, just listen to the voice. It's kind of, is that a man who has lived? Is it a man who suffered, or is it just a synthetic AI voice kind of reading a script that was generated by ChatGPT? Now, this is the crisis that we're living right now. It's unbelievable that we are taking an advice on how to be human from a robot that has never taken a breath. We are taking an advice on discipline from a content farm that just want some clicks. And listen to me closely. I want for you to stay until the end of this video because I have an important story to share with you. A story that explains exactly why you are failing, okay? We are taking advices from machines, but machines, they cannot bleed. Machines cannot fail. I am here not only to give you the advice, but to show you, because what are words without action? And at the end of this video, I'm going to share a story about the Buddha that proves why 99% of the advice you hear is worthless. So stay with me. But first, let's look at the reality. Think about your own life for a second. I saw some comments online about in this video saying, what about fishing? What about cycling? What about cooking? And to be honest, I understand it. I get it. Fishing is peaceful, cycling is fun, cooking is creative. But be honest with yourself right now. You didn't click on this video because you want to have fun. You clicked because you kind of feel the void. You clicked because you feel like you're wasting your potential. You clicked because you want to be that part of that 1%. And I understand that. And the truth that the AI will never tell you, the hobby will never make you the 1%. The 1% people, they don't balance hobbies. The 1% people who understand sacrifice, they understand obsession. Now, if you treat the gym as hobby, you're just exercising. If you treat reading as a hobby, you just entertain yourself. Now, before we're going into the list, I want to ask you something. Do you remember the first time you went to the gym? Do you remember how people were looking at you and you were looking at the weights and kind of feeling a bit stupid, feeling a bit weak? Even, do you remember the first time you tried to go for a run? Now, you remember the feeling of burning sensation you had in your lungs? You wanted to vomit after 3 seconds. You kind of felt pathetic. And you know what? Do you remember playing the guitar for the first time, how your fingers hurt, the chords sounded terrible, you felt clumsy. I want you to think about that feeling, that awkwardness, that pain. That feeling is why most of us quit. That feeling is why sometimes you look for easy hobbies instead of real discipline. Now listen carefully. Anything new is going to be hard, but anything worth doing is going to feel awkward and bad in the beginning. The AI will never tell you that. It tells you it will be fun, it's gonna be incredible, just start doing that and you'll become the part of the 1%. It lies. So I'm telling you, it sucks. It will be painful. You will feel stupid, but discipline is the ability to feel stupid and do it anyway. Discipline is what turns the awkwardness into power. So now we're going to strip the list, the gym, the reading, communication, and we're going to strip away the hobby mindset. We're going to turn them into freaking weapons. Now let's start with the first one that was mentioned, the gym or calisthenics. Now the AI voice tells you exercise is good for your health, which is true. It releases endorphins, this is true, but this is only the surface. This is kind of the hobbyist mindset, and that is why you look the same as you did last year. Now, the quiet path wisdom is different. It has a different mindset. I don't train just for my health. We train for resilience. Now, when you go to the gym, don't mind on how much you lift. Nobody cares about what happens when you want to quit. Now, think about it. There is a moment in every workout, maybe it's the rep number 10, maybe it's mile number 3, when your brain starts begging you to stop. It says, this is enough, I'm tired, I did a good job. Now that voice is your enemy. The voice is the reason you stuck in life. The discipline is not moving the weight. The discipline is killing that voice. You have to sacrifice comfort. You have to sacrifice the feeling of good enough. Now, when you're on the floor doing push-ups and your arms are shaking and you physically cannot push up again, just stay there. Don't get up. Hold the tension. Learn to live that fire. That is not a hobby. This is an exorcism of your weakness. So how do you actually do this? You don't just go to the gym. Do it properly. So do this instead. Buy a physical notebook, not an app, just simple pen and paper. You write down the moment you wanted to quit, and then you write down what you did after that moment. Did you do one more rep? Did you hold the plank for 10 more seconds, just 5 more seconds? If you quit when it got hard, you write failed. You look at that word and let it sink. And tomorrow, your goal is to beat it. Now let's talk about what I mentioned. One of them is reading. Read more books, get smart. Do you know how many people I see treating reading like a high score? I read 50 books this year. I listened to 100 podcasts. But look deep in their eyes and you will see they are still anxious. They are not that smart. They're just stuffing their brains with information, but they have zero wisdom. Reading is not a hobby, it is a download. And if you don't install the file, it is useless. You're just wasting your time on reading. Here is the sacrifice you have to make. You have to sacrifice your need to feel smart by reading fast. Now, what I want you to do is pick one book, maybe about meditation, even the Bible or the art of war, and just read one page and just close the book. Now, this is the hardest part. Sit there, stare at the wall, and ask yourself, is it true? Do I live this? If the book says, be patient, you don't go to read the next page until you have gone a full 24 hours without losing your temper. Now, it is slow, it feels like you aren't making any progress, but this is how you build a mind that is bulletproof. You don't need 50 books, you just need one good book that you actually live. So, how to get disciplined with that? Get a separate notebook. Yes, writing is very important. Now, this is your application journal. At the top of the page, write the one idea that you read. Below it, leave the page blank until you actually have acted on it. Do not read the next page of the book until you have written down a real world action you took based on the idea you read from that book. If it takes you a week to leave that one page, let it be. Do not lie to yourself. Now, in the video, they also spoke about communication, and usually it means how to network, how to be charismatic. So basically, it's just learning how to lie better, okay? Learning how to put on a mask and so people will like you. Now here, in the quiet path of wisdom, the version of communication is radical honesty. And it is going to require from you the biggest sacrifice of all, the sacrifice of social safety. I want you to think about how many times a day you lie. We are terrified of saying what we actually think. We nod when we disagree. We laugh at jokes that aren't funny. We say yes when we want to say no. Now, we do this because we are afraid of being rejected. We are afraid of the friction. Now, if you want to be part of the 1%, start telling the truth. When someone asks for your opinion, give it, even if it's unpopular. When you don't know something, just say, I don't know. Don't pretend. Now, at first, it will be terrifying. You will feel your heart racing. You will think they're going to hate me. But then you will notice some strange thing happens. People will stop seeing you as a nice guy and they will start seeing you as real person. Honesty is the only communication that matters. Now, this one simple thing, it's called flinch test. Every day, count how many times you flinched from the truth. How many times you nod when you want to say no. Your goal is to get that number to 0. Now, if you lie to be polite, you failed the day. Acknowledge it and then fix it. I promised you a story at the beginning, and this is the most important part of this video. There is a famous story about Buddha. So a mother traveled for days to see Buddha, and she was desperate. Her young son was addicted to eating sugar. It was making him sick, and he wouldn't listen to her, obviously. Now she dragged that boy to Buddha and begged him, saying, Master, please tell my son to stop eating sugar. He respects you, so he will listen to you. Buddha looked at the boy, he looked at the mother, and he said, go home, come back in 2 weeks. Obviously, the mother was confused, she was angry, she traveled so far. Now, why couldn't he just say the words? But obviously, out of respect, she left. And 2 weeks later, she walked all the way back and she stood in front of Buddha again. Buddha looked at the boy, looked him in the eye, and said, stop eating sugar. The boy nodded and he stopped. Now, the mother was so amazed, but she was so frustrated, and she asked, Master, why did you have to wait for 2 weeks? Why didn't you just say that first time? Buddha smiled and said, because 2 weeks ago, I was still eating sugar. This is the point. This is why you, well, not you, we are failing. We are taking an advice from robots, AIs, some gurus who are telling you to do things that they have never done themselves. They are telling you to stop eating sugar while their mouth is full of candy. So don't just watch this video and click on the next one. Just pick one discipline, something you're really obsessed about, something you really love. So don't just watch this video and click on the next one. Pick one discipline, something you want to be obsessed about, and be the evidence. Stop eating the sugar before you tell the world how to live. So subscribe to the real world and join me in the progress.